Okay, so you had a reading assignment last night, chapter 25. Joe, what was your what stood out to you in that reading?
Chapter?
Pardon me?
Wisdom?
Chapter 25.
Of Starfish Manifesto.
Oh,
We're in Dinah's the Kingdom class. I know it gets confusing.
oh yeah, I thought it was a reality.
Mhm.
Wait. Wait a minute.
What's the matter?
Outside lines.
Oh, okay. The title of this chapter was Repositioning from Within. On page 426.
Somebody can let me skip.
Okay, well, you're looking at Mary. What was your takeaway, Mary Kamau?
Just as a topic, the heading says positioning from within. And realize it's not what is on the outside that is going to bring any change. But the change is from inside. And it's like I'll have to reposition myself and, ask Jesus on a daily basis to, the closer I get to him, the more that change can happen. And then there was this list of the things that, I wrote this down, that we want where we can get more goods for a lower price. And then we have this church without fellowship, maturity without prayer, church growth without human faith, discipleship without obedience, charisma without character, reaping without sowing. And I said, wow, that's exactly what is happening out there. And I'm a victim, because we want easy things, things that come easily. Claim it, get it, that kind of thing. But I realize it's not going to happen that way. There has to be the adjustment, and again they say reformatting, redeployment and all that.
Yeah.
There has to be something being involved into it.
Yeah. Yeah, and so as you think about the pain we're all going through this week, the pain that you're experiencing is not just the tiredness of your bodies. It's Jesus wielding the sword of his word on our hearts and our spirits. And so there are no shortcuts. If we're going to have a movement, there are no shortcuts. We can't afford shortcuts. That's what's got us to the place that we are in the first place. So before we train or enlighten other people, we have to submit to the sword of his word in our own lives first and not run away from the pain of it. When I lost my first husband, it was obviously a traumatic experience, and how do you move on with your life? We had 6 children, the oldest 17, the youngest 8. I was in the middle of a master's program at Regent University, and one of my professors, who had also lost a spouse, said something that always stuck with me. He said, when the pain feels like it's going to overwhelm you, the tendency is to run away, to back up, but he said that he had found leaning into the pain was really the most healing. And so even as we're going through this painful process, it's like having your toes and fingers cut off. It hurts. But instead of leaning away from the Lord's knife, know that He knows what He's doing. And He's not going to cut off something that we really need. And so to kind of lean into the pain. Emmanuel, what was your takeaway from the reading?
It's oddly relevant to what's going on. Because I remember when you spoke to me about this, I said, I kind of missed, the rigor of waking up, the activities. Now I'm thinking, I'm like, I wish I'd known. Had I been a little less enthusiastic. And a lot more.
Yeah, sometimes the Lord does that. He kind of tricks us into, we think we're getting one thing.
I feel you, bro.
I wish someone had told me, I remember, who was it? Kevin and Sonia was speaking. It was tough. And I was thinking, come on, just a few classes, please. And I'm realizing it's the same thing with the kingdom. There has to be something else to change. Same way we've been doing things. I think we're looking at the whole thing of ministries and now I think it was what we mentioned the definition of the word insanity, doing the same thing over again, expecting different results. The problem is we are so comfortable I've gotten so comfortable in certain ways. Like change, I think I like it this way. This is familiar. So for that to be changed, I'm really happy, yes, but I'm also thinking, wait, this week, these 2 weeks are tough. What about when it's out there and other things have to change? Like, I'm going to need a lot of strength from God because it's not going to be easy.
Yeah, and that is really where the Lord wants us. He wants us to be children again. To recognize, Lord, if you don't do this in me, I can't do it. There's nothing in myself, my flesh, my experience, my knowledge, my anything that can do this. And so to come back again to that point of childlike dependency. I'm willing, Lord. Use me however you will. But I'm tired of running my own show. Mary P.
Oh, good morning.
Thank you for joining us.
Oh, so one thing that stood out to me was it was a little saying in somewhere in there. It says, if we cannot believe that Jesus does not have a plan and direction for us, a map and a path toward life goals, a blueprint, and an empty spot in his big picture puzzle with our name written on it, then everything else is reduced to pointless religion. And even I kind of took that as just overall life, not even specifically religion, is if you don't have a purpose and a plan and something that you're reaching for, what is life but just waking up and eating, going to sleep? What is the point of life if there isn't something there, if you don't have a belief that God has a plan already written for you before you were even born? I can't wrap my head around it now as to how before coming to Christ I was able to just kind of live in that lane and be good with it. But now I'm like looking back and I'm like, how did I function? How do people function without knowing that God is there in his greatness and bigness? It's funny. So yeah. But yeah.
Now, Joe, we're back to you.
Yeah, I think I share the same sentiment with Milo, that like that feeling of, oh, was I tricked into this?
I tried to discourage you, Joe.
I know you did, and I thought you were discouraging me from something very good, like Tobiah and Sanballat.
Like what?
Tobiah and Sanballat.
Oh, okay, okay.
And Nehemiah's like, no, we're gonna fight with one. We're gonna build one hand brick, one hand sword. And so it came at a time of a very, very busy reorganizing the year and trying to get things focused. But also just the weight of trying to get it and still be able to get it in a way that you want to pass it on. I almost think I've forgotten that. The passing it on. I'm just here and I'm soaked. And guys call like, how is it going? I'm like, wait. So I see that weight of rearranging. I think for me, the biggest take away from this reading is the pain of rearranging myself and reorganizing myself. Because if you look at the three stages he talks about of access, entry, access, and ministry. I think we've always got it the other way. Like we have ministry first, you are called, then we're just rushing to go. And then we find ourselves questioning our entry. Are we even in the kingdom? Like, look at us now, questioning if we are in when we've been doing ministry for over 10 years. And then just access to God's blessings, like just how do we define that blessing? How do we define that success? And one of the things he says about putting a new BIOS, like the BIOS that tells the computer what to do. And so I was thinking about what kind of BIOS do we need to install now through these 11 days that should reflect, like post 11 days, how should we look like? And I'm not thinking it's gonna be very sweet for my team, because it's like you're just gonna reorganize things and tell them, no, I think we've been doing this wrong. And another thing is just at the point of leadership, I think it's harder because you even don't know, you're caught in between, should I just count it as a good feeling, a good learning, and go home, keep it to myself? Or do I want to start a war? Because that's what's going to happen, it's just going to be, some few will just fall off and say, hey, Joe, I think you are crazy. We're leaving, we're quitting. And just the author talks about you could just sit down there in a rocking chair and look at your past greatest experiences. I think for me, running a movement that starts from 3 people to 30 countries and overall, it's almost like I don't want to mess it up. I just want to sit down now and say we've done 30 countries, we've done thousands of young people, supported hundreds of churches, and so I think it's okay. Actually, I was thinking somebody should take over. That's what I was thinking last night, like, let me just go start a fire, then hand it over. Then I would say, the crumbling didn't come from me. So I think the greatest challenge for me is just praying about reformative. It's the hardest thing as an adult to reformat. To just say, I know you've been doing it wrong. You've been doing church as we know it, and it's time to do church as God wants it, and that's dead.
Yeah, it is, and I really, really appreciate your brutal honesty. Because that's where the decisions lie. And this is why a lot of times I try to discourage people from coming to the school. I know if they come, they will be challenged down to their toenails. I know that. But thinking of all the pain you will have to go through in figuring out what God is saying to you now and then doing it. My heart is with you, because these are the real realities, and this is why this kind of school will never be really popular. Because we're confronting the issues that have held us in bondage, you know, all this time. And particularly for leaders, that's not easy. That is not easy. You know, you said wondering about, you know, whether you will have the strength to go back and start a war. But look at it this way. When we agreed to follow Jesus, we entered his war. The war was already on. Our choice is not whether we're going to be in the war. Our choice is whether we're going to follow Jesus. If we're following Jesus, we inherited his war. And there's no way out of that. You know, we're following him through this war. So, you know, it is very sobering decisions. And I could tell even in talking, back when I was in the States, we had some meetings with some of your leaders in different countries. And I was concerned then, because I was afraid in talking to them, I didn't know, and that's up to the Lord, but I didn't know if they would be able to hear what is being taught here and adjust and respond to it, or whether it would just be too much. So I would really appreciate going forward if you keep us informed so we can be praying with you. Because that is not an easy task, and I don't want you to have to feel like you're going through it alone. Okay?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so we are now going to be doing, for the next hour, you will be doing an open book test on this chapter. If you could go to your email and open up your emails, I sent the test questions this morning. And I want you to open that up so we can go through the questions before you start working on it. So you'll see at the top it says chapter 25. Then you're going to use this document to answer the questions. So you'll need to put your own name on it, the course code, title, all that. And then just scroll down or space down at the end of each question where you'll put your answers. Now, when you see a question or statement that says discuss, what I'm looking for is, for instance, in number 1 it says discuss Steve Chalke's statement. Our Christology must form our missiology, which must form our ecclesiology. I know, Mary, you say you're not that deep, but yes you are. You just don't want to admit it. So, first, when we see the word discuss, you want to kind of take what that statement and put it in your own words to show that you understand the statement. If you don't, this is the time right now to ask questions, what have you, before I turn you over. But then, after you put it in your own words, then you're going to state whether you agree or disagree. Or maybe you agree with part of it and not the rest of it. So if you agree, state why you agree. If you disagree, state why you disagree. You're not marked down for disagreeing. This is, to respond to what's being taught. So you're going to state it in your own words. Then you're going to state whether you agree or disagree and why. And then you're going to state what impact that statement has on your life. If you agree with it, what will have to change in your life in order to line your life up to that statement? In question 2, it says discuss the 3 stages to gain understanding, entry, access, and ministry in this present Reformation. So you're going to be, those 3 areas I just went through, you're going to be doing the same with this, because the opening word is discuss. So you're going to state that again in your own words. You're going to state whether you agree or disagree and why. And then, if you agree, what will need to change in your life to line up with that. So, the revisit with Jesus, reformatting, redeployment, expand on each one and give applications. So revisiting with Jesus, what does that mean to you? You know, we know what it said in the chapter, but as you read that, what does that mean to you? What does reformatting mean to you? Joe, you already went through some of that in your verbal discussion this morning, so you just kind of include that in your statement. Redeployment, what would that mean in your life? What might the Lord want, in what way might He want to redeploy you? And then, number 3, explain the consequence of not believing that Jesus has a personal plan for us and its effects. Okay? Do you understand the questions? You won't die, Mary. I promise. I have not lost a student yet.
She'll be the first.
And that's all right. We'll just bury you out there with the
Oh,
chickens.
yeah. We have chicken. Better for your funeral.
Okay?
So we discuss.
You're discussing on paper.
I mean, discuss. We discuss.
Oh, we're in pairs?
No. No, you're doing this individually. You're discussing on the paper. You're weighing.
Not like drawing or...
No.
I could do a drama of it.
Yeah, we've already seen your
We can
drama
draw.
you felt.
We can draw.
We can act this.
No.
Yes.
No.
It will be easy for you to
A
mark.
group project?
Mm-mm.
Oh, no.
We can... We can... We can do it in another way. It's 3, right? So those are 3 dramas, but we can do one that answers all of them.
Not for this one.
We try.
I try.
We try.
Thank you.